This is Kevin Cassius for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Chris Eubank Jr. Chris, how are you, mate?
I am splendid.
Another very eventful press conference today. Was you allowing Eddie Hearn to talk there, or were you still trying not to let him, because it seems like there was a back and forth today finally between the pair of you?
I don't know if there was a back and forth. He squeezed in a few words wherever he could. I just don't have any time for this guy, man. You know, he comes up there and he's just there to talk shit. And I just, you know, I've got a busy day ahead, so I want to kind of lessen the bullshit as much as possible, which is why I don't allow him to speak at my press conferences, which is why I sit there and expose him for what he is. And yeah, he was furious today from what I could see on stage, rattled, if you will, and that's good. You know, we need to keep these rats in their places, you know.
Just want to address a couple of the things that you were talking about in the press conference. The allegation against Eddie and Matchroom regarding the ambulance being delayed in leaving, can you give us a little bit more context on that? Speaking to Eddie and afterwards, he said that he will be taking action on this if you weren't going to issue an apology over this. Can you make a comment on that, please?
What a scumbag. The guy, I'm stuck in an ambulance for 20 minutes attached to an oxygen tank, and now I've got to apologize for telling everyone about it. Oh, Jesus, the balls on this guy. Who else would benefit? Who else would have a reason to stop those gates from opening for 20 minutes, knowing I'm in the back of this ambulance, needing to go to hospital? I only have a few enemies: Conor Benn, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith. Robert Smith showed himself to be an enemy of mine after all the things he did leading up to this fight. And I think he is in the back pocket of Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. So one of them guys did it. Who else would have done it? Who else would have stopped that barrier from raising? I have to address these things because they could happen to somebody else. You know, like I said, if it was a serious injury, if I had a bleed on the brain, if something was going wrong with my respiratory system, that 20 minutes could have been the difference between life and death. There cannot be incompetence in this area when it comes to health and safety, when it comes to, you know, medical assistance. It's impossible that could have happened. How did it happen? Whose fault was it? Where's the investigation from the Boxing Board of Control that a fighter, a main event fighter, was stopped for 20 minutes from leaving the stadium? No investigation. They're happy to investigate me allegedly using a sauna and find me for that. They're happy to investigate an egg being smashed across somebody's chin. But when there's a situation where someone could die, nothing. You know, deathly silence. This shows you the type of people that you're dealing with here in this industry.
Chris, just, it might sound a silly question, but who was actually stopping those barriers? Like, who was there in front of the ambulance that were not letting the barriers go? Because that was asked during the press conference. Like, was it security or?
Yeah, it would have been security. It would have been, I mean, it ended up being that my personal security had to jump over and hit the button to let the gates go up. And then there was still these bollards that go down into the ground that were up, and we had to wait for those to come. And that, you know, there were phone calls, and I don't know who is in charge with all of that, but it's unacceptable. And in my opinion, the people that are in charge of that event need to be held accountable.
You made comments in the press conference about the board and Robert Smith. You also made some comments regarding the gloves, the horsehair in Conor Benn's gloves. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit more, please?
In my contract for the fight, It is explicitly forbidden for there to be any horsehair in his gloves. Robert Smith knew that. So did Eddie. On fight night, he's wearing gloves filled with horsehair. It's a breach of contract. What was the other question?
The horsehair, but also, the kind of the words on Robert Smith and the board in general. You made reference to media being allowed or cameras being allowed to film your rehydration, etc.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm going into a private weigh-in. There's supposed to be one team member from Conor's team in there. That's it. One representative to make sure that the weight's fine. I walk in there. There's cameramen, there's journalists, there's media, there's all types of team members from other teams filling this room, which is supposed to be private. And I'm on a deadline of when to be able to make the weight. We've got to wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes for these people to leave the room before I can get on the scales. That contributed to me missing the weight. This was all done under the supervision of Robert Smith. He is incompetent. He is biased, in my opinion. He is being directed by Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. Why else would he do the things he did? Why else would he personally escort Billy Joe Saunders to my changing room on fight night? Why is he doing these things? Because he's a scumbag that takes orders from people. Clearly, that's what I believe. And no one talks about it. No one talks about these things that go on behind closed doors. No one has the balls. They're worried about losing fights, getting fined, losing out on money, losing out on opportunities. I don't care about any of that. I don't have to be here. I'm good. I'm set. I won the fight. So if you do something wrong, if you break a rule, if you breach a contract, if you are irresponsible, I'm going to point it out to the people. I'm going to expose you so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. And that is the main reason why I spoke about this ambulance situation, because it can happen to anybody. If it happened to me, it can happen to anybody. And it could be the difference between life and death. We cannot have this happening. You cannot have incompetence when it comes to people letting people out in ambulances. It's impossible. It can't happen.
You have been reunited with Eubank. Talk to me about kind of how that has come about again. You obviously had a very successful relationship with him in the past.
Yes, we are 1-0 when it comes to rematches. And we felt that we needed a new set of eyes and a new kind of direction for this camp. We can't be doing the same things we did for the last fight, because we want a different outcome. We want to stop this guy before the 12th round. So that was the decision made in bringing Eubank in.
You truly believe, that you will be a better fighter than what we saw in April?
I have to be. And, I'm the type of fighter, once I've experienced you, I know what to do. I could get hurt in spars with guys, but after I sparred you once, I know how to deal with you for the rest of my life. And with Conor, it's no different. I know his weaknesses, I know his strengths, I know his capabilities, his limits. So now I just have to use all that information in my preparation for this fight, and I will do so, and I will make sure it's a better performance second time around.
Chris, was there any talk of your father being here today or not?
No. I dealt with these baboons just fine by myself. He knows I don't need any extra help. He will be there when it counts, not to sit there and listen to these guys lie to the public for an hour.
Will you be involved in your camp at all?
My old man hasn't been a part of my life in terms of my boxing career for many years now, especially not in terms of my preparation for fights. So I don't see that changing for this fight. But You know, we are rebuilding. He will be at the fight this time. I think we're filming a TV show tomorrow, which is great. The first time we've done anything like that in years. So everything's good.
Finally, what happens here November 15th?
Yeah, my job is to make sure that I learn from the mistakes. I go out there and I put on a show that rivals or surpasses the show that I put on in April. And I am extremely confident that I will do that.
Chris Eubank Jr., much appreciated time as always. Apologies about a social media post that went out from us earlier on, so do apologise about that.
Will you do that type of thing again? That's the question.
Well, only time will tell. I'm going to say categorically no. But, yeah, I do apologise about a leak, shall we say. Great. Thank you very much, Chris Eubank Jr.